Hey, afternoon. My name's John. It's Sunday, and this is an unscripted Whatifi explainer video today. Today I'm going to show you the difference between Whatifi, which is a highly visual, low-code financial scenario builder, and Excel, and how we can really easily create what-if scenarios in Whatifi that you just can't do nearly as efficiently in Excel. So here's a use case. Say, for example, you are an analyst and you're looking at projections for your company. You have all of these different customers and clients, all the different sort of statuses, all of these different locations. And let's take a look at this Toronto one. We've got a project that starts paying in February of 2022, $60,000, starts on this particular date. So you're sitting there getting ready to prepare a financial statement, and your sales rep says, well, actually, there's a chance this project could be worth more. I think it might be 10% more, or it could even be 20% more. You'd have to kind of go in and duplicate and replicate, and you have a real tough time trying to model those two scenarios at the same time. Maybe he or she comes back and actually says, and it may actually not even start for another sort of 3 months. It might sort of push out. Right off the bat there, you're looking at 4 different scenarios, and it's going to be pretty complicated to do that in this current structure. You'd have to take this tab, maybe duplicate, create another version, and if you have downstream things that are relying on these calculations, it's very, very hard to track all those sort of differences. So let's flip over to Whatifi, and I'll show you how we'll build this in Whatifi. Alright, so here's Whatifi, and I've already got an income event right here. You can sort of see that we've got $60,000 coming in effective February of 2022. So the first thing I'm going to do is we have a decision to make here. I'm going to put in a decision event. And I'm going to use a modifier. So modifiers are incredibly powerful. Let's drop in a modifier event and I'll show you how these work. So a modifier allows you to modify any property of any one of these events upstream on any given sort of date. So for example, I could say I'm going to modify a specific event. I'm going to take that income and I'm going to take its income amount, and I'm going to give a percent change of 10%. So what's going to do automatically is it's going to go through and now take this. It's going to increase it to 66,000. So there's that 10%. I could also take this really quickly on the fly and copy and paste this, and I can edit this, and let's change this to say something like 20%. I'm going to go over here on the right hand side, look at my thread list manager. I'm going to select both of these, and now I have 2 scenarios, 72,000 and 66,000. And maybe the third one is we said, well, maybe actually the original value is going to stay the same. It's going to offset. Maybe it's not going to happen for another couple of months. So I'm going to add in another modifier here. I'm going to take the same sort of property. And this time instead, I'm going to set the start date, and I'm going to change the start date. I'm going to replace that with a new date. So maybe this is now in 2022, and I'm going to say maybe it's July 1st. And I'm going to add that in and fill and add. So now I have that particular date. So once I graph all 3 of these, you can now see all 3 scenarios here in parallel at the same time, just like that. Other things I can do. I can string these modifiers together. So I've got my 10% and my 20%, but what about a scenario where that also sort of pushes out? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push out this date into the future. So I'm going to add another modifier right here. And I'm going to set the specific event, which is that income, but now I'm going to change its start date now instead to be a value replacement, and I'm going to say that this is not going to start now until, say, maybe May. I can make that May the 1st, add that in, and what I can do is I can patch these together. So I can connect this to this, right? So now both of these scenarios are inheriting that new date. What I can also do is I can actually bypass that as well, so I can still maintain the original scenario. So I'm going to put in another decision event here, kind of almost like a placeholder. I'm going to drop this in, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this straight through to this. And I'm going to connect this straight through to that. And just to clean things up, I'm going to connect this to it as well. So what have I done? I now have 5 different scenarios, all here in real time, all procedurally working the same way. I can map all of those at the same time. I can see all those different start dates, all those different values and how they play out from a cash flow or a net worth over time. And I can even do something if I wanted to, is I could go procedurally up the stack here and actually change my initial value. So maybe instead of $60,000, I want to run this entire scenario now instead, and instead change this to be, say, $70,000. So I'm going to insert a modifier up here. I'm going to change that income value upstream here. And I'm going to set this to be $80,000. And what you'll see in a moment is everything has now been changed to $80,000, and then we are appending these other modifiers on top of that. So you'll see the $80,000, the 10% more, and the 20% more, all here in real time, all 5 scenarios. I can zoom into any single one of these scenarios and map it out on its own, see all the steps that make that up, or come back up and compare different scenarios against each other, all in real time. So that's the difference between how we can quickly model out multiple scenarios in Whatifi versus having to hack and slash all of these in Excel instead. So that's my quick and dirty Sunday non-scripted example of some of the powerful things that we can do in Whatifi. Thanks very much.